How dare you refuse to help your brother? Dad snapped as I stared at my drained account. $88,000 gone overnight. Mom smiled. It was for his engagement party. He deserves a helicopter entrance and more. I blinked. My brother laughed and said, "Just do your duty as the older one." I did not argue. I simply walked away. This morning they finally discovered why. My name is Alex. I am 31, the older one, the responsible son. I work as an operations analyst at a logistics company. My desk is always clean. My shirts are always ironed on Sundays, and I can tell you the unit cost of a pallet faster than I can tell you my favorite movie. I grew up in a house where be useful was the closest thing we had to love, so I learned to be useful. I fix printers. I organize closets. I send money for a bit that somehow becomes forever. My brother Ryan is 26. Ryan has charm like a coupon for free forgiveness. He smiles, and parking spaces appear. He fails upward. In school, he won most likely to be on television, and it stuck to him like glitter. He sells houses now, mainly by taking photos in nice kitchens and telling people vibes. Dad calls him my boy. Mom says he has star quality. When I got my first real job, Dad said, "Good, steady." When Ryan got his first client, Dad said, "Finally, destiny." Mom is the architect of our family illusions. She loves a plan with a theme and a budget that is flexible, as long as the flexibility comes from me. She has lists, binders, and tabs. She makes coffee in a French press because it looks fancier, then microwaves it 2 times and forgets it on the windowsill. She knows exactly what she wants from me before I know I am in the room. I keep my life simple. A 1-bedroom apartment over a dry cleaner. A car that rattles when it idles. A savings account I look at like a pet I am trying not to scare. I run before work. I eat oatmeal. I text home safe in the family chat because I always have been, in the way that means available. This story begins at my parents' dining table. It is the long one Dad built out of oak when he was still doing carpentry. The varnish has bubbles in it because he rushed. The way he rushes when he wants a thing to be admired more than he wants it to be right. Mom had spread out glossy brochures like playing cards, venues, florists, something with a gold foil helicopter on the cover, because apparently those exist. Ryan was half sitting on the edge of a chair, half on his phone, grinning at an angle that said mirror practice. "Okay," Mom said, tapping the binder with a pen. "Engagement party. Not just any party. A statement, a moment." She looked at me like a director about to give the lead actor his cue. "We will need deposits. Early is cheaper." Dad grunted the way he does when he has decided. "We do it right for Ryan. Once in a lifetime." Ryan glanced up, milk-white teeth. "Has to be epic. She deserves epic." "I thought the wedding is the epic part," I said, careful, like I was testing ice with my foot. Mom flipped a page. "Weddings are for families. This is for their story. Helicopter entrance. Very tasteful, not tacky at all. You only live once." She smiled at me. "Alex, you know how these vendors book up. You will handle it." "Handle what?" I asked, even though I knew, even though I always know. "The budget," she said lightly. "You are good with numbers. You know how to do things, efficiently." Ryan leaned back and stretched like a cat. "Just do not make it cheap," he said. "I have a brand," Dad added, without looking at me. "And do not embarrass us." There it was, the tiny blade hidden in the napkin. Do not embarrass us. Not can we talk, not what can you do, just the assumption baked into the air. Older equals sponsor, responsible equals invisible wallet. I blew on my coffee and watched the steam slide off. "What is the actual number, Mom?" She looked offended, like I'd asked how much her love cost. "We will figure it out." "We always do," Ryan said. "Just do your big brother duty." Like the words were a joke he had told 100 times, and it always got a laugh. Dad's phone dinged. He ignored it, eyes on me now. "Do not make this difficult." I felt something small in my chest shift, like a door quietly clicking into a different frame. I was not angry, not yet, just awake. The room smelled like coffee and dust, and a lemon candle trying too hard. I stood to refill my mug. Aunt Denise breezed in from the kitchen with a tray of deviled eggs and a comment that landed with that special family accuracy. "Alex, you know how to be practical," she said. "Your brother knows how to be special." Everyone laughed. I did not. That was the first trigger. Not the helicopter, not the binder, just the sentence that assigned me a role I did not audition for. I took a sip and said, "Got it." And for once, I meant it in a way they did not hear. It did not start with helicopters. It started with birthdays, allowances, and what counted as a good reason. When I turned 12, I wanted a second-hand bike. Dad said, "You pay half. You will take care of it." I mowed lawns. I raked leaves. I counted quarters on the kitchen table. When Ryan turned 12, he wanted a drone. Boys need toys, Dad said, and bought the newest model. When it broke because Ryan flew it into the maple, Dad said, "We will get it fixed." When my bike got a flat, Dad said, "Patch kits in the garage. Be a man." Money was a language we spoke without anyone teaching us grammar. Ryan asked, and money came. I asked, and money became a lesson. I do not hate that. I learned to work, but there is a way lessons cut when they only go one direction. At 17, I worked nights at the grocery store and saved tips in a jar labeled college. The jar sat on the top shelf in my closet. One weekend in July, it moved to the kitchen counter. "Just for a minute," Mom said. "We need to pay the gas bill before it doubles. We will put it back." Dad said they did, over 3 months minus a little, because things come up. The jar learned about evaporation. At 20, Ryan borrowed my car for a date and came back with a bumper zipped to the undercarriage with a bungee cord. "Long story," he said, shrugging. "Dad told me, be proud your brother is dating a nice girl. I paid the $412 to fix it because pride does not make a safe left turn." At 23, when I graduated and got the logistics job, Mom threw a cookout. Aunt Denise hugged me and whispered, "We always knew you would be useful," like it was a prophecy fulfilled. The next week, Dad called. "We are switching the phone plan to a family plan. It will save money." It saved theirs. I added my card just to set it up and never got it back. When I brought it up 6 months later, Mom said, "It is hard to pick a good moment with everything going on. When is there not something going on?" I kept a note on my phone labeled tallies, $68, urgent Comcast, $340, Ryan's tire blew, $175, Mom's crown popped off, $920, deposit for Ryan's first apartment because his credit had a mix-up, $200, Dad's bridge loan to cover a client check delay. They were going to Venmo Friday. They did not. I deleted the note because it made me someone I did not want to be, someone who kept score. Funny how not keeping score only helps the person who is winning. My savings grew anyway. I am good at starving my own wants. I lived small. Lunch was rice and eggs. I liked the number in the bank app more than I liked new shoes. I had a plan, a down payment on a small condo in 2 years, maybe a place with a balcony that could fit a chair. Then Ryan met Emma. She is kind and gentle and blinks 3 times when she is thinking. She made him want to be better, but he thought better meant presenting bigger. Suddenly, "We should do something nice" became "we cannot be basic." He asked me for a little help with the ring. I said, "That is between you and the jeweler." He pouted and told Mom I was cold. Mom called and made it moral. "We stick together," she said. "Do not be the kind of person who can watch family struggle. A ring is not a struggle, but in my family, definitions are flexible." The engagement party started as a backyard idea. Then it hopped fences. "The garden at the Monarch," Mom said. "I imagine it is magical." Then there was a string quartet, a champagne wall, a neon sign, and cursive. "Just the entrance has to be special," Ryan said, scrolling on his phone to show me a clip. 2 people stepping out of a helicopter onto a lawn while petals fell like snow. "It is just once," he said. "Look at the comments. Everyone cries." "Who is paying?" I asked, like the village idiot who asks where the water comes from. Dad said, "We are stretched," as if he had a right to narrate my checking account. "Maybe scale back," I said carefully. "Do a cool car instead." Mom gave me the smile you give a child who colored outside the lines. "You think small because you are used to small. Or because I have to pay for small," I said too fast. Dad's jaw tightened. "Watch your tone." The planning meetings got weird. Not obvious yelling, just subtle knives. "Alex, you are so organized," Mom would purr, handing me a folder full of invoices. "Alex, you are steady," Dad would say, sliding a deposit form across the table. Ryan would wink at me like we were in on a heist together, except I was the vault. I tried to set a boundary. I said, "I will gift $1,500. That is what I can do." I felt brave for a second, like I had drawn a line. Mom blinked. "That does not even cover the ice sculpture." She was not joking. Dad leaned in. "Do not be petty." "Petty is a helicopter," I said. He tilted his head like he did not recognize the word. A week later, I came by with a spreadsheet. It was simple. Columns for vendor, cost, date, who is paying. I said, "Let us be clear and fair." Ryan laughed. "This is giving tax audit." Mom said, "Money is energy, Alex. Do not make it ugly." Dad said, "We will handle it," which in our house meant, "You will." I started noticing small things at my place. A drawer slightly open where I keep my passport. The iPad I used to set up the family phone plan moved. A post-it with a code half written and then torn. It made me feel paranoid, which is a lousy way to feel in your own apartment. I changed my bank password and set up two-factor authentication. I told myself I was being dramatic. Then came the night that tipped the scale. We were back at the oak table. Mom had a new binder tab, Arrival. Ryan had a video queued up of a helicopter descending over vineyards. Dad poured coffee like it was whiskey. Decision day, Mom chirped. Monarch said, "We have to commit and pay the premium for the landing permit. They rarely offer it. It is fate or marketing," I said. Dad set his cup down hard. "Do not start." Ryan said, "Just say yes, man, be a brother." Aunt Denise, never missing a cue, added, "You will understand when it is your turn," like I was in training for generosity and failing the quiz. I looked at their faces, open and expectant, like I was a vending machine that took kindness as currency. My stomach did a small, quiet flip. I said, "I cannot." Dad's chair scraped. The room was still like a photograph. "How dare you refuse to help your brother?" he snapped, not loudly, but with that tone that bruises. I did not argue. I stood, rinsed my cup, and said, "I have to get up early." I kissed Mom's temple because love and boundaries can sit in the same mouth. I walked out. On the drive home, I tried to decide whether I was wrong. My phone buzzed 2 times. "Ryan, you are unbelievable." "Then, Mom, we will talk tomorrow when you are calm." I went upstairs and set my alarm. I stared at the ceiling. I made a small list in my head, not of payments, but of lines. Morning came. I made oatmeal. I opened my banking app to do my routine check before work, and then I stopped breathing. I stared at my screen for a full minute without blinking. The numbers did not make sense. My savings account balance was a number that belonged to someone else. The available line had collapsed like a tent in a storm. $88,000 moved overnight for transactions. A wire to Sky Vista Aviation, a cashier's check to Monarch Events, a charge to Floralux, and a debit labeled ALC Lighting. My stomach went cold and then hot and then hollow. I checked the details. The wire had been initiated at 1:42 a.m. The cashier's check purchased at 8:57 p.m. at a branch across town. The florist's deposit hit at 10:13 p.m. My phone had been on my nightstand. My card had not left my wallet. The app showed verified by passcode. I felt a little sick. I called the bank. The hold music sounded like an apology. A woman named Carrie picked up and said all the sentences in the compliance script about "we take unauthorized activity seriously." She asked if anyone else had access. I said no. Then I thought of the iPad, the drawer, the post-it. "I changed my password last week," I added. My voice felt far away. "We can file a fraud claim," she said. "We will freeze your card and stop further transactions." She paused. "If the person used credentials and knew your passcode, it may take investigation." I hung up and drove to my parents' house without deciding to. I parked crooked. I walked in. Mom was at the table with the binder open like an altar. Ryan had his feet up, flipping through a vendor booklet. Dad sat at the head like a judge in a small-town court. I held up my phone. "Explain this." Mom did not look sorry. She looked annoyed. "We had to act fast," she said, as if she were telling me why she changed the thermostat. Monarch had another couple interested in the date. Dad folded his arms. "Do not be dramatic. You will get it back. You always make more." Ryan laughed. "You are being weird. It is for love, man. It is not like we took it to gamble." "It is not yours," I said. My voice was calm, the calm I use when a vendor tries to overbill by pennies. "It is not your money." Mom leaned forward like a guidance counselor. "It is family money. We are investing in a memory. You will thank me when you see the photos." "You stole," I said. Dad slapped the table with his palm. "Watch it." "I changed my password," I said. "Who had my phone?" Ryan shrugged. "You leave it around. It is not hard to guess. You use dates." Dad's mouth twisted. "This is what you get for being secretive." I laughed once. It sounded like a bark. "Secretive? It is my bank account." Mom smiled the way people smile before they say something obscene. "He deserves a helicopter entrance. And more." She tilted her head. "You do not want him to look cheap." "You drain my savings," I said. Each word its own step. $88,000. Ryan whistled low. "Sounds bigger when you say it out loud." He flashed teeth. "Just do your duty as the older one." There it was, the script. Duty means empty your pockets, hand over your spine, say yes until your mouth forgets other shapes. I put my phone away. I looked at the 3 people I have loved with an ache that used to feel like purpose. I realized I could argue for hours and it would land like rain on wax. I am not arguing, I said finally. Dad smirked, victory already warming his face. Good. You were embarrassing yourself. I stood. I took my keys off the hook by their door because somehow they had ended up there. I set them in my pocket. Mom's eyes narrowed. Where are you going? Home, I said. To do what I should have done a long time ago. You cannot stop the party, Ryan said. Contracts are signed. I looked at him. We will see. Mom's voice turned sweet and dangerous. You are going to ruin your brother's life over a number on a screen. This is not about revenge, I said, steady. This is about closure. Dad muttered. Therapy talk, like it tasted bad. I will send you an email, I said, and walked out. I did not slam the door. I did not raise my voice. I got in my car and drove to the bank. The teller recognized the look on my face and did not make me sit. She took me to an office with a fake plant and a real lock on the door. I told my story once, slow. She listened like a human being. She clicked keys. We are freezing the account, she said. The wire is pending. The cashier's check can be flagged. These vendor charges are pre-authorizations. We can dispute. She had me sign an affidavit. She added a note, account hijacked by close relation. She set up a passphrase that no one in my family could guess because it was a word none of them would pick. Next, I called Sky Vista. A man with a cheerful voice answered, the kind people use when they know they are expensive. We do not reflect cancellations over the phone, he said. The booker signed a no refund clause. The booker used stolen funds, I said. I have a bank fraud case number. If you fly that helicopter, you are participating in a criminal transaction. I gave him the number. I cited the bank. I carbon copied my new email account I had created that morning. He went quiet and said someone would call me back. I went to the Monarch. The event coordinator smiled until she saw my face. I told her the same sentence, unauthorized funds. I showed her the case number. I handed her a printed letter, the kind I never write because I hate drama, stating that any contract signed in my name without my consent would be contested and prosecuted. She looked at the letter like it was hotter than the coffee in her hand and said, We will review. I said, You have 24 hours. I carbon copied Monarch's legal team from the email printed on the wall. Then I called my phone provider. Remove all additional lines from my plan as of today, I said. Transfer any remaining balances to the individual users. The representative started the script about family savings. I understand, I said. Remove them. Click, click, done. 3 lines went dark, not revenge, consequence. At home, I opened my laptop and made a new document titled 90 Days. I wrote, email only. I will not respond to calls or texts. I will reply to emails within 48 hours. I will not fund any expenses for the engagement, wedding, or emergencies that are not hospital or police level. I will gift $1,500 directly to Emma with a note for what you want. I will not be an authorized user, guarantor, CO signer, or temporary holder for anyone. 2 times monthly dinners are available. Public place, 1 hour, Thursdays at 6 p.m. I printed it, slid it into a manila folder, and labeled it. What changes today? I slept for the first time in 2 nights. This morning, my phone started vibrating at 7:02 a.m. like it was possessed. 18 missed calls by 7:15 a.m., 14 from Dad, 3 from Mom, 1 from Aunt Denise. The group chat turned into an oven. Call me now. What did you do? My phone is off. Monarch says the payment is flagged. Sky Vista emailed saying the FAA permit is halted. I made coffee. At 7:40, someone pounded on my door. Dad. He did not wait to be let in. He shoved past me, face the color of raw steak. You humiliated us. Mom followed, breathless, hair half done, binder clutched like a child. Ryan came last in a hoodie and sunglasses, like the paparazzi were in my hallway. They canceled the helicopter, he said, as if reporting a death. Do you understand? The helicopter? I set the manila folder on the counter next to the kettle. Read, I said. Dad slapped it. I am not reading your little manifestos. Then listen, I said. The bank froze the wire in the check. They flagged the florist and lighting. Sky Vista and Monarch have my fraud case number. Any venue that takes stolen money becomes part of a crime. I will not be your criminal. Mom's eyes went glassy. Stolen? We are family. Family is not a bank, I said. Ryan pulled off his sunglasses like he wanted me to see his eyes. You ruined the entrance. The fact that he meant it made me weirdly sad. I will never forgive you, he said like a teenager. I pointed at the list. This is what I will no longer do. This is what I am willing to do. If you want help budgeting, ask respectfully. If you want to talk, email. If there is a hospital emergency, call and I will pick up. Everything else is a no. Dad planted himself in my kitchen like a monument. You think you are righteous? You forced our hand. You said no. I said I would gift $1,500, I replied. You took $88,000. It was a loan, Mom tried. You will make more. You are steady. I am steady because I do not do this, I said. I am steady because my yes means yes and my no means no. Ryan started pacing. Emma's parents are going to think we are clowns. I picked up the smaller envelope I had put inside the folder and handed it to him. This is a check for $1,500. It is made out to Emma, not you. She can use it for flowers, a dress, or a vacation from this circus. He stared at the check like it was a personal insult. This is petty. It is a boundary, I said. Dad's voice dropped to the low register he uses when he wants to scare the room. If you do not fix this, you are out of the family. I looked at him, at the man who taught me how to change a tire, and also how to ignore my need for rest. I am not out, I said. I am just not for sale. Mom grabbed for the moral high ground and slipped. What will people say? They will say we did not arrive by helicopter, I said. And then they will eat the chicken. She made a small, wounded sound. Ryan swore. Dad shook his head like a coach watching a player refuse to play through pain. I do not recognize you. I finally recognize me, I said. They left in a storm of whispered strategies. Minutes later, the messages started landing like hail. At 8:22, a new email subject, you are sick. Body, return the money. I replied once, attached the 90-day document and wrote, I love you. Email only. 2 times monthly dinners are available. I will not discuss the party again. At 9:03, a voicemail from Aunt Denise. You are breaking your mother's heart. At 10:11, another from Dad, the bank called. They are asking questions. You are going to get us in legal trouble. At 11:30, a text from Ryan, just let the helicopter go through and we will pay you back after the wedding. I did not respond. He sent 13 question marks. I blocked his number and sent him a single email, all communication by email. By noon, Sky Vista replied in writing. In light of the fraud alert, we are voiding the booking. The Monarch emailed, contract under review. Deposit held in escrow pending investigation. The florist wrote a gracious paragraph about understanding family dynamics and no hard feelings. That one made me smile. I ate lunch, rice, eggs, hot sauce. My hands were not shaking. At 3 p.m., I met with a lawyer for a 30-minute consult. She read the affidavit. She told me to keep every email, to stop talking on the phone, to document everything. If they retaliate, credit cards, utilities, call me, she said. But I think you have done the important part. I waited. Which is, I asked. You stopped pretending money is love, she said. It is not. It is a tool. You are using it to build a boundary. That night, I took a long shower. Not the kind where you think of better comebacks. The kind where you wash your hair 2 times because you can. I made tea. I watched a dumb show where no one asked anyone for $88,000. My body remembered what quiet feels like. The panic in the family chat reached a fever by bedtime. Mom posted a Bible verse about honor. Dad said a man and then coward, which was a weird sequence. Ryan posted a black screen with white text, some people are snakes. Emma, bless her, sent me a single email. I am sorry. I do not agree with this. Thank you for the check. I wrote back, I hope you get the party you want, not the entrance. She replied with a heart emoji. I did not need a translation. I slept. Now, I never thought the day would come when I'd look at my own family and feel nothing but a cold, quiet resolve. My name is Alex, 31 years old, the responsible son who always picked up the pieces. For years, I told myself that giving, money, time, silence, was how I showed love. I ironed my shirts on Sundays, ran before dawn, ate the same oatmeal, and watched my savings grow like a secret garden I tended alone. $88,000. It wasn't just a number, it was every skipped vacation, every repaired car part, every night I chose sleep over going out. It was the down payment on a life I thought I'd earn the right to live one day. When I opened the banking app that morning and saw the balance gutted, something inside me didn't break. It clicked shut. I felt the betrayal settle in my stomach like ice water, but beneath it was a strange calm. No screaming, no tears, just the sudden clarity of a man who finally sees the pattern he's been living in. All my life, I'd been the reliable one. The one who fixed printers, paid overdue bills, co-signed phone plans that were never removed from my card. I learned early that being useful was the price of belonging. Ryan, my younger brother, learned something different, that charm could open doors, and that someone else, usually me, would always pay the toll. Mom orchestrated it all with her binders and themes, turning every milestone of his into a production that required my quiet sponsorship. Dad enforced it with grunts of approval for Ryan's destiny and shrugs for my steady progress. They didn't ask this time. They simply took. A helicopter entrance, a statement, a memory. They used my passcode, my phone, my trust, and drained everything I'd built while I slept. And when I confronted them, Mom smiled and said, "He deserves a helicopter entrance and more," as if my entire life's caution and sacrifice were just loose change for Ryan's spotlight. In that moment, standing in my tiny kitchen while they sat at the oak table Dad once built too quickly, I felt the weight of every unspoken resentment I'd swallowed. I felt the exhaustion of being the family's invisible wallet, the older brother whose duty was to disappear so Ryan could shine. But I also felt something new, relief. The relief of no longer pretending that love looks like endless giving without respect. I didn't yell. I didn't beg for understanding. I walked away, froze the accounts, flagged the payments, and drew the clearest boundary I'd ever drawn in my life. Watching their panic unfold, phones cut off, vendors backing out, the helicopter grounded, didn't bring me joy. It brought me sadness, the deep, aching kind, for the family I thought we were. But mostly, it brought me peace. For the first time, I recognized myself. Not the useful son, not the steady one, not the sponsor of other people's dreams. Just Alex, a man who finally understands that love isn't measured in dollars quietly transferred, and that protecting my own life isn't selfish, it's survival. I still love them. I always will, but I will no longer trade my future for their illusions. The garden I tended alone is mine now, and I'm locking the gate.